importantly, just have the faith in yourself, knowing that you'll figure it out. And assume and understand and welcome all the failures and problems and issues that you're going to face, because those are expected. If you think that you're going to ride through it without any repercussions, you're sadly mistaken. And yeah, by all means, stay in your lane, whatever you're doing, be comfortable. That's fine. That's fine. I got a bunch of buddies that are like that.
The GenTech podcast discussing business, investing, and marketing.
Hey guys, welcome back to GenTech Podcast, where we're bringing you valuable and inspirational discussion with top business owners. Today we'll be interviewing Ramon Kargar. He's the owner of Easy Advocates, which is a timeshare company, to get out of timeshares. And we're going to be talking to him about his story, how he got into this industry, his journey, and his advice to other aspiring business owners. So Ramon, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Yeah, no, thank you guys for having me so much. I appreciate that.
Of course. So we'll just get right into your background. Where are you originally from?
So I'm actually originally from Portland, Maine.
Oh, wow. Okay. And what brought you down to Florida?
The weather. Portland, Maine, if you guys are familiar, it's up in New England, so it's a lot colder up there. Winters are dark, and it's not exactly too appealing. So ultimately, I like being on vacation year-round more so than just 3 months out of the year.
I completely understand. I moved here from Rhode Island, so I can agree. The weather here is amazing compared to New England.
Right.
So, did you go to school and get a degree? I know I was talking to Christian and Mel a little bit and heard that you were actually in the medical field at first.
Yeah, so I was actually starting out, or I wanted to be a doctor for quite some time.
Wow.
And I got my degree in biology pre-med, and I got a minor in chemistry, and for 5 years, and that's all I thought. That's all I knew. That's all I lived and breathed. And I finished very well, to the point where I did really feel like I had a good shot at getting into medical school too, and becoming a doctor and finishing that route. But it just didn't pan out in the cards because, just becoming an entrepreneur kind of fell in my lap more so. And, I kind of took that and ran with it instead. And I don't regret it.
Yeah. So how did you make that transition? I mean, that must have been huge to, go to school for 4 years, expecting to be in the medical fields. And then all of a sudden you just become an entrepreneur. Was there any inspiration or interest that led you to that?
Yeah. I mean, my parents have always been in real estate. And so I kind of grew up around it. I was swinging a hammer by the time I was able to walk almost, because my dad loved the free labor.
Mm-hmm.
So ultimately, the big hump that a lot of people face in terms of getting into real estate, those risks were already mitigated for me at that point, just because it was my upbringing. So when I was in college, I actually bought my first building. I saved up my down payment, and my parents co-signed my first loan because I was 22 at the time. They were going to give me just under $500,000 loan to move forward on a 6-unit in Portland. So
wow.
Yeah, and from there I was kind of just I realized that becoming a doctor, the opportunity cost didn't weigh out. It made sense for me to just keep doing kind of like what my parents were doing, especially because it was working out for them. And more so, it just made sense because I get that much more freedom from it. When it comes to real estate, I'm sure everybody knows it's good, easy, passive income. You don't have to do anything. So from there, when I graduated, I still had all this time to study for the MCATs, to get into medical school. And if anybody is familiar with that route, it's very competitive. So you're not going to be the first one out the gate that gets in. It's not like that.
Mm-hmm.
Competing with a lot of people that are much more established than you are, just coming out with your 4.0. So, and I knew that. So I realized, okay, do I try to get a job? What do I do? And what happened was my real estate was doing well. I was making some good money there. And I needed something to occupy my time with, though. And granted, I was studying at the time. I still had a fix to make more money, And what I ended up doing was I worked at a part-time job for a buddy of mine for a little bit that had to do with timeshares. And ultimately, what ended up happening was I ended up starting my own company similar to his, and I partnered with an old person that I actually used to work with. So an older guy that I used to work with, I actually partnered with him because he was involved with the same industry.
Mhm.
And what ended up happening was me and him ended up partnering up and kind of taking off from there. I ended up buying him out, back in 2017, and I just haven't stopped. So that's kind of where I kind of took off from the timeshares.
Mhm.
And, ultimately, I kind of just said no to the MCATs when that day came. I had the timeshare thing running for me. I was making good money there. I had the real estate paying me. And the day that the MCATs came, and I just decided not to go to the test. And at that point, I knew that was it.
Yeah, I think people really underestimate my brother. He's in medical school right now, but it is crazy to see like when you're mapping out the time, how even in 10 years, like you might not be where you are like in your career. So that's why I feel like entrepreneurship looks so desirable when you're studying and seeing that you might not be a doctor for like 10 to 15 years.
Yeah, it's definitely a long, tough, thought out route. That's for sure. I mean, you're talking 5 years of undergrad for me because obviously, you don't finish in four, who does? And then you're thinking, if you want to be somewhat competitive, you're talking 2 years for a master's. And then you're probably going to want to go and do a couple of years of just experience as an EMT, just to get some more accolades under your degree. And then, you got 3 years, or excuse me, 4 years of then med school, and then 3 years of residency. And if you're going to want to make some money, you're going to have to do another 2 years of fellowship. So, I mean, you're going to be like 35, almost 40 years old by the time you're even making anything. And at that point, it didn't make sense for me. So, and then to those that it obviously makes sense because they have more of a passion in it, and I unfortunately didn't. It was kind of like more one of those things that, my parents wanted me to do, and I was like, shit, why not? I realized, well, what my parents were doing made a lot more sense. So I should probably take that route instead.
Yeah, and I can also agree. My parents are also in the real estate industry, and obviously, like I went to college and now I'm in grad school, but it still is such a desirable industry because you see how well your parents are doing. But it is always good to have that. I think
Yeah,
everyone should have real estate.
I do too. I mean, there's great tax incentives. I mean, it's good passive income. I mean, it's, you can borrow money against it and not pay taxes on it. I mean, and I'm not giving financial advice or anything like that. So, nor am I an accountant. So take all this with, another expert piece of advice.
So when you were talking to your friend who was first into the timeshare advocates industry, would you say he was like one of your mentors that really drew you to this field?
Yeah, yeah. So him and I actually used to work together for the same guy that I eventually went and partnered with. So that's kind of how I knew him. And so, I mean, I had already had that part-time job. It already was that niche that I was already pretty good at. I was already comfortable with it. And then ultimately, I saw an opportunity and I took it. I saw, this other gentleman basically having, not the best of luck with his business, and he essentially had a great setup so that we could kind of capitalize on this side of the sector. Don't worry about trying to resell timeshares, which is what he was doing, because that kind of market was kind of dying. Everybody was more so fixated on how do I get out of this period.
Yeah, I
And
was asked if you could explain more what Easy Advocates is because it is such an interesting industry.
yeah, it's a fine new niche, that's for sure. But essentially, we help people get out of their timeshare contracts. So people get suckered into these pesky timeshares that they end up not exactly panning out to be what the salesperson told them it would be. And it turns out, realistically, all you're doing is prepaying your hotel room for the rest of your life. You pay this big $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 loan, plus an annual maintenance fee on top of that of about $1,000 to $1,500 a year. And what they kind of sell you on is, you're an owner of this place, and this property is going to go up in value, and essentially make all these statements that don't exactly pan out to be true. And what's really, when people are down on vacation, they're there to do two things really: is have fun, and how you do that, you spend money. You know what I mean? So they know these people are already fixated on spending money and, reoccurring, or reliving this experience. I don't do that. You buy a timeshare, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't do that. So unfortunately, they kind of prey on the psychology behind, people being on vacation and, that treat yourself type of approach, if that makes sense.
I want to ask, were there any big challenges at the start of your career or any setbacks that you may have faced?
Yeah, I mean, there's always challenges, guys. I mean, really, it's every day the challenge. You're always trying to, as a business owner, you're always solving problems. That's what you do. If you really like find, take, a general criteria that most business owners have is that they're problem solvers, and they do it in an efficient way. But I mean, for me, I can't really think of any one problem. I think you just have to understand that you're gonna have problems and you just got to figure it out.
Mm-hmm. And what's any advice that you would give to listeners when they're facing these setbacks as they're in their entrepreneur journey?
I think they just need to start realistically, just start, and then understand that most things usually work themselves out, and they got to have that faith and just knowing that. A lot of people wonder, what if it doesn't work out? This is going to happen. You don't really know until you've done it. So you're kind of making, what hasn't happened yet exist, which, why would you do that type of thing? You want to get deep. So I think it's just start, even if it's, doing the small things, just put yourself in, set yourself up to be in that position to get going. If you're thinking about getting into e-commerce, start researching about products, maybe take a few $100 or $1,000, whatever you got working with, who knows, and just run a product, see what the hell happens, see what errors you're running into, and then just figure it out from there. And understand you're going to have those errors, and that's fine. The more errors, the more experience you get, and eventually the more money you'll make from those experiences. So it's just like a snowball. You just got to keep on rolling in, so on and so forth.
Yeah, I love that advice. You're also an investor, right?
Yeah.
How has being an investor helped you excel in your career?
I mean, I've always just had like that little knack for it. I don't really know if it's like, yeah, I've always just known how to take money and multiply it, and knowing that it's going to cost a great deal of money in order to multiply a great deal of money, and being fine with it. And that's where the whole risk aspect comes from. Not many people are willing to spend the money and take that lunge and see if it'll pan out. And I guess that's kind of like, gambler in me, I guess. I don't know. Not like actual gambler, but I mean, yeah, if you're a risk taker, sure, so be it. I'll gamble on myself all day. So, I mean, I guess that's kind of like where it comes from. But I mean, obviously, they're all calculated. I see opportunity, I take advantage of it, I weigh out opportunity costs, and I like to dive into new shit all the time. It's whatever takes my interest. I don't mind seeing it if it's whatever it is.
Yeah, speaking of your new ventures, I heard you're getting into blockchain and crypto. I would love to hear about that. I'm not too knowledgeable in it, but if you could tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah, so what we've done, so what I've been working on for the past couple months actually is I more recently started a crypto hedge fund, and we're called Blockchain Asset Management. And we were actually down in Bitcoin Miami this past week, and we made a lot of great headway. And we're just excited for everything that's to come. It's actually what all this mess behind us. So you gotta have your eye on the markets all the time, and having my own little hub in my house, it just makes it a lot easier. So I'm excited. I'm excited for where the technology is going. I'm excited for the adoption of it, the convenience of it. I mean, I firmly believe that's kind of like where the future is headed, especially with where the economy is going. It's necessary.
So can you tell me more? What is a crypto hedge fund?
So essentially, we take on investors and we help them invest into cryptocurrency. So they get full exposure into the market without having to monitor the market 24/7 or manage the volatility that comes with it. We have algorithms actually, that help us, calculate everything so that our risk management levels are at an all-time all-time high always. So, despite people, absorbing these 30% losses, we can see them coming. That's the beauty of it. So.
I think that also just ties into your risk, how you said gamble on yourself. And obviously, these hedge funds and stocks are super risky, but if you're willing and you know a lot about it, I think that's perfect in the new venture of your career.
Yeah, I mean, I've been exposed to it all it's 2022. I got in about 16, so 6 years. A lot of my time has been, devoted to, really exploring more into this industry.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always just really, really been fascinated by it because ultimately I do feel like the transition is inevitable.
Have you been involved in any real estate down here in Tampa? What do you think about the real estate industry right now?
Oh man, it's nuts right now. I'm actually selling a bunch of my property right now in Maine, and I'm trying to get into more of the high-end luxury Airbnb rentals. So it's just been more lucrative overall. On average, you're looking at making 2 to 3x on your traditional rental income.
Mm-hmm.
And it's way less upkeep, and it's personally for me, it's been more peace of mind. Less wear and tear on the property too, and you're getting all the benefits that real estate has to offer. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where I've kind of been heading with it, and I'm riding every bit of what Tampa has to offer right now.
As you should. It's amazing here.
Yeah.
And that kind of ties right in. I was thinking, about these timeshares. I've never personally had one, but I did always think it was kind of a crazy idea, especially with Airbnb. Do you think that was brought a huge threat to these timeshares and making consumers want to get out of them?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, realistically, timeshares as it is, everything is a threat to them. It's just people just got to be aware of what timeshares really are.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that Airbnb is a threat to it. It's not that all these travel agencies are a threat to it. It's that when you really buckle down and realize what a timeshare is, it's you're planning on using this thing every year for the rest of your life. How the hell do you know what's going to even happen in the next 2 or 3 years? You think you're going to go on vacation, the same spot, or the same somewhat similar destinations that place has to offer? And when you boil it down, the numbers don't pan out because, if you think about it, on average, it's, say $500 a night for a hotel room for a really nice one, right? $3,500. What's that? Yeah, $3,500 for the week, and you have the luxury of going whenever you want, right? You're going where you want when you want, and then but what timeshares do is they lock you in. You're paying that loan off for the next 10 years, no matter what. You got to pay that $400 to $500 a month.
Mm-hmm.
Every month, or else it goes on your credit for the most part. And then you're also paying on average $1,000 to $1,500 to $2,000 a year on top of that, whether you use it or not. So if you, I'm not even going to give an if you because you just shouldn't. So we'll just leave it at that.
Mm-hmm. I agree. It's just an old business model that just doesn't work anymore. So it is really nice that you are helping people get out of this.
Yeah. No, I'm excited every day because a lot of people are super, super ecstatic to really finally work with a company that actually gets it done for them too. I know that we've just done such a great job, and we've made so many people so happy and so pleased, and saved them a ton of money in the long run. So,
Which is amazing, and anyone can appreciate that.
Right.
Do you feel like that is how you really stand out from your competitors, like the amount you care about your customers?
Yeah, absolutely. The thing that we try to do most importantly is that obviously we get the feedback from all the customers that we deal with and the clients, and a lot of these companies are just charging ridiculously large upfront payments, or they won't even start. They're asking for a minimum of $4,000 or $5,000 right now before we even look at your paperwork. Mm-hmm. And what we're willing to do is start with no money down. We'll actually defer some of these payments for a month or two just so they can get comfortable with us and who we are, make sure that we're actually delivering on the service that we promised before they even start making just even a payment. Mm-hmm. So instead of them, being overextended, taking that massive leap of faith where they have to pay $4,000 or $5,000 just to, get started on something, we're basically doing it at a fraction of the cost without any money coming out of your pocket until you see something. So I think that definitely sticks out amongst all the other competitors for the most part.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's obviously a new industry, not new, but new to me. So it is interesting to hear about it. I do want to ask, with all these like new business ventures, how do you balance your life and work?
Oh man, my life is work, but the way I have to balance it is making sure that I'm not doing the stuff that I don't want to do. And what that comes with is making sure you hire the right help. More important. Um, so if you hire the right help, pay them well, you take care of them, make sure that you have a good relationship with for them, so that they're not just working for the job, but they're going hard for you. You know what I mean? Like, I like this person so much that I am going to go the extra mile. Your life is just so much easier, and that comes with me being able to move that much more efficiently, because I know whatever I need done is done. I don't have to circle back and make sure it's, is it done or what's going on with it. That's it. So you're able to rely on all of your I don't know, your avenues, I should say, or your mechanics, I should say, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. When you're able to rely on everybody efficiently, I mean, your quality of life just goes through the roof that much more. Honestly, it's almost like a game. It's fun, that more importantly. And you gotta have fun with it, because shit, man, life is short, and you don't want to be caught chasing money when there's roses to smell or something like that.
What advice can you give to entrepreneurs who want to start their own business?
You just start. Like, I'm gonna circle back. Just start it. Like, they're overthinking it. You are overthinking it, and just more importantly, just have the faith in yourself, knowing that you'll figure it out. And assume and understand and welcome all the failures and problems and issues that you're gonna face, because those are expected. If you think that you're gonna ride through it without any repercussions, you're sadly mistaken. And yeah, by all means, stay in your lane, whatever you're doing, be comfortable. That's fine. That's fine. I got a bunch of buddies that are like that. And I'm the one that's been persistent. If they ever watch this, they know who they are. It's like, oh, man, get off your ass, let's do this. And like, nah, I'm good. I'm good. I got my thing. I'm like, all right, whatever. So, and that's fine, and it is what it is. But if you're really hungry, then just start it, and just learn from your mistakes. Understand you're going to make a bunch of them, and just keep the punches rolling. And that's really it.
I want to ask if you have any self-improvement tips that you do. Obviously, you're going into new ventures, so you have to keep learning. And do you read any books or do any online classes? How do you learn?
Um, I just started listening to audiobooks like 3 weeks ago, so I can't even say that I do that. I'm still on like chapter 3, and I haven't even gotten through my first. But realistically, I think I do a lot of just hands-on trial and error. That's what it comes down to. I think it's just taking that fearless approach where you just dive at it head on is what I encourage everybody to just do.
Yeah. Have you had any business ventures that you went into that you failed at?
Yeah, yeah. I was going to start a food delivery app, kind of like Uber Eats, but in Portland. That didn't work out well. And I was going to start, and I really want to pick this one back up when I do have the time, but it was called Mainly Lobster. And I was overnighting fresh Maine lobster right off the boat from Maine, obviously, to different cities. And I had my house in Cumberland, and I had this massive garage, and I had a huge lobster tank. It was like 800-gallon tank, and I had this whole little setup. And I was eventually going to get it going, but I actually moved down here, so what the hell with it.
I love that though. I love Maine lobster. Can't really get it down here, miss it. I want to transition over to social media and how you use that in your business and how you market your business. So, what methods do you currently use to promote Easy Advocates, and what methods will you use to promote your crypto hedge fund?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and I'm always trying to learn different avenues. And I've worked a great deal actually with GenTech, and And Christian's been amazing, and Amel's been amazing, and they've helped me do my Facebook ads. And so we're working that way in that direction. Those have panned out very well, very successful. So I definitely recommend them, and it definitely didn't pay me to say that. So I think social media advertising is obviously big. Everybody's using it, plain and simple. If you want to get in front of people's eyes, where are people's eyes going? It's social media. So that's very important. So we definitely take that route. We also buy a lot of qualified leads. So people submit information somewhere in some portal, what have you. We purchase that information and we'll call them. And whether it's a phone number, an email, we'll buy it all, and we'll send out campaigns and what have you to them to try to make the calls more inbound, so to speak.
I also think you can really tie in that you are an investor, and you talked about how you're not scared to, spend a couple hundred to make a couple thousand. And I think people get really scared to spend money on marketing, which is so crazy because, when you're spending money on those Facebook ads, your revenue will triple, will quadruple, but people are really scared because they think, oh my God, I'm spending $2,000 a month, but you can start making $10,000 a month if you spend that. So what's your advice for that? Obviously you're very skilled in the investing and you love the risk. So
start out small.
Yeah.
It's okay to experiment. If you're, again, you're going to have to, if you're going to want to expand, right? You're going to have to experiment with new stuff, because in order to keep up with modern day technology and all the innovations that are happening, you're going to have to try the new stuff that's coming out, or else your business is not going to succeed and it's not going to make it. Bill Gates, I think, said it best a while ago: if your business isn't on the internet, it's not going to be a business much longer. So I think social media plays a large role in that, and I think people really need to, sacrifice a small portion of their income into an experimental budget for their marketing, and see what you think will work best. Because if you're the one that's out chasing everybody all the time, shit's exhausting, man. And you're relying on way more than you need to get the job done. More importantly, when you're marketing right, people come to you, guess what? You get to charge them more too. Their walls are that much more down, and they already know, that I'm coming to you. So I think marketing is very important for that, and again, social media is really important for that.
Yeah, you want to be, that person that people come to you, that I think it's called the pull market. It's super important. I do think having that upper hand and using marketing will get you that.
Yeah, for sure.
Has there been any marketing that hasn't worked for you, or that has really worked for you? What platforms do you focus on the most?
Email campaigns are just tough overall, just because the platforms that you use are so finicky in terms of making sure that the right email that you're using is the right email. So, email marketing is tough. The ones that I like to use the most are, well, in terms of marketing, I do a lot of Facebook, and I do a lot of buying leads. And then from there, we'll either, send them out a campaign, and then follow them up with a text message with some sort of promo or something, or a phone call from, one of our guys or gals. That's definitely, the traditional approach that we've been taking, and it's been pretty good.
Do you also work on your personal brand at all of yourself?
No, not at all. I work on everything else. And the brand itself, naturally, if you know me, just kind of goes up as it is. So
your brand speaks for itself, so that's all you need.
I know me, at least know that.
And do you have any plans for the future?
Just getting this hedge fund up and running, taking a really passionate, strong role into the crypto industry, getting these Airbnbs running, making sure all these people get out of these timeshares efficiently, making sure that, everybody on the team is well kept and taken care of, those are my plans for the future.
And to wrap it up, what's the biggest takeaway that you hope listeners learn from listening to this podcast?
It's okay to take chances. That at the end of the day, mistakes are going to happen. Failure is just another lesson learned. If you're going to want to make money, you're going to have to spend money. And obviously, if you have a passion for something, you should just get started on it. Just kind of dive into it and kind of see where this takes you.
Awesome. So I'm just going to give a little wrap up on what we talked about for everyone. So again, this is Ramon Kargar. He is the owner of Easy Advocates. He talks about gambling on yourself and investing in yourself and taking that chance and how that really pays off. Also, risk. He's not afraid of risk. And I think that is definitely how you got to where you are today, because you took that risk and you're continually learning and growing and getting into new industries, and you're not afraid of that. Your new ventures are the crypto hedge fund and the Airbnb. So I'm extremely excited to see where you go with that. And where can our listeners connect with you online?
Right now, for the most part, I have Instagram, and it's just ROAD, the number 2 Forbes, just how it's spelled.
Your businesses?
My businesses are the letter E, the letter Z, advocates.com, and blockchainmgt.com.
Perfect. And you can find us at GenTech Marketing on Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, LinkedIn, everything you need. So thank you so much for listening. And Ramon, thank you again for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks guys for having me. Appreciate it.